It's that time again. Probably been wondering if I'm going to have another Dave Ramsey video. Well, I do, and this one's just for you, especially if you're trying to figure out, does his retirement advice actually work? Let's dive in. Hello, my fellow Ripplers. This is Chris Miles, your cash flow expert and anti-financial advisor. This show is for you, those of you that work so hard for your money and you're now ready for your money to start working harder for you today. You want to become work optional, where you work because you want to, not because you have to, because you have enough passive income coming in to be able to meet your needs and then some. So you have that financial freedom to stop focusing on your own life, to stop worrying about how to pay bills and how to get along from day to day, to worry about whether you're going to have time with your family and all the things you love. No, you have more than enough freedom to do all that. And on top of that, you're not just here to get rich because you want to live a rich life. As you are blessed financially, you now have a greater capacity to create a ripple effect and bless the lives of those around you. Thank you for tuning in today, guys. I appreciate you, all of you that have been tuning in. You've been sharing this with others. Thank you so much for sharing this with your friends and family. By the way, if you think this show is great, like it. Be sure you're also subscribed to our channel and share this with somebody else, because this advice that we're giving right now, the stuff that I've learned firsthand, has helped me become financially free twice by the time I was 39, can help you and them too. And how awesome would that be? Is not only you're smarter for taking this advice, but now you're helping other people do the same. So please share this episode or your favorite episode with one of your friends or family members today. Okay, so like I said, Dave Ramsey gives great advice. I think the algorithms on my phone are set to Dave Ramsey, so I often get his advice showing up. And again, some of the advice, some of the stuff is kind of vanilla, it's boring, but this one I thought was good. This one I thought was worthwhile because, if anything, we know that Dave Ramsey is a good guy. Like I honestly believe that this guy is out to help a lot of people, and he's done it. He's helped more people than I have. I can tell you that much. There is no doubt he's helped millions and millions of Americans, especially those that struggle to survive, especially those that have been paycheck to paycheck, especially those that have been drowning in debt. He has helped so many people recover from that. He helps you get really good to that place of zero. Now, when it comes to his other advice, when it comes to investing and those kind of things, now the wealth building part, now it kind of falls apart. The wheels kind of fall off the wagon, so to speak, right? And that's what I want to talk about today is, let's talk about the advice he's given, which is just like every other financial pundit out there. But yet again, we still face the harsh reality that most people, the vast majority of people, aren't financially free. The vast majority of people still, if they have even over $1 million in retirement, which is what he tells people they can do, still most of those people don't think that either one, they'll be able to retire at all, or two, it'll even be a comfortable retirement. And so I want to address, what's his retirement advice? Where does it fall short? What is the actual reality of what you'd have to save? That's what I want to talk about now. All right. So this came from an article here from thestreet.com. I've been getting a lot of stuff from the street lately. And, this will kind of really piggyback on what I just talked about last week with Bernadette Joy. Very, very similar advice, but not so much on the debt side. This one's just focused on retirement accounts. So he talks about the blunt truth. Now, I like how this is going because there is good blunt truth in this article before we get to Dave Ramsey's advice. I'll read this here for you, especially if you're listening to the show rather than watching it. It says, American workers frequently worry about whether they are saving and investing enough for their future retirement years. Personal finance best-selling author and radio host Dave Ramsey has a warning for people concerned about the retirement savings, explaining that bad habits can only be broken by doing something differently than that they aren't currently taken care of enough. I don't know if that sentence totally made sense. I might have read it wrong. Anyways, pretty much, again, I don't like the thing where he automatically assumes that you don't have enough retirement savings because you have bad habits. This has not been my experience. I've seen many of you that have been Dave Ramsey poster children and then not have enough for retirement. So I'll get into that later here. Many workers feel behind on their savings as they attempt to balance their day-to-day living costs with saving and investing for retirement. This concern can lead to a deprioritization of retirement saving efforts. No kidding, right? Especially because it says here, inflation contributes to a lot of anxiety. As costs rise, kitchen table expenses become difficult to manage. So true. One thing I hate about personal finance people is that they always assume that inflation is pretty much the same. And that if you're spending more money every year, that's your fault. That's because you have horrible lifestyle, that you're materialistic and everything else, and you're a spender. No, you're trying to survive. Okay. So I do get ticked off when they get very judgmental about this kind of thing. It continues, says people are also concerned with volatility in the stock market, leaving many to wonder if their investments are on solid ground for future needs. Here's another one. Social Security is another cause of angst. While many workers understand that the federal program's monthly paychecks will not be enough upon which to live comfortably in retirement, they are also concerned about projections that its trust funds will run out of money by 2034, and their benefits could be reduced to only about 80% of current estimates. Just so you're aware, guys, the average monthly income on Social Security right now is about 1,600 or so a month. That's like 20 grand a year. Like they're saying, that's not enough to live on. You got to have something else. You cannot trust Social Security. And what if all of a sudden it goes from 20,000 a year down to 80% of that, down to 16,000 a year? That means you have even less to live on. And if that weren't enough, guys, if it weren't enough to have, costs and life in the way, and we have volatility of the stock markets that could take your money away too, and we've got Social Security that's running out of money, then you throw in healthcare. Healthcare, including the need to pay premiums and other costs that Medicare does not cover, is a primary worry for many Americans. Given these financial realities, Ramsey offers a warning and also a plan of action regarding a blunt truth about a behavior people can change to boost their chances of achieving a rewarding retirement. Ooh, I can't wait. I hope it's going to be good. He's going to say, Ramsey clarifies his belief that saving for retirement in a healthy and productive way is possible, but thinking about it is not enough. Action must be taken and soon. Okay, first off, I know that are Americans that are not saving, and maybe he's talking to the people that typically aren't going to save, and they probably won't even after hearing his advice anyways. I know he's reaching out to those people. Unfortunately, most of the people that listen to him, in many cases, will also listen to me, because you're already saving money, right? You're already in the habit of doing this. You already know you have to be saving some money. So taking action has not been your issue. You're already taking action. You're just wondering, well, how much more action do I have to keep taking? How much more is it going to keep sucking out of my life? Which way, by the way, you throw monies into 401ks and things like that. It's taking money away from your family. It's putting it away in hopes that it's going to be there for a future day to then take care of the family that's no longer going to be around you because you're too dang old to take care of them. You might not even be around. Your spouse may not be around. You're just hoping that you can take care of yourself, for that matter. So you're already taking and sacrificing all this stuff from your family because you were told, if I just delay my gratification, I saw the marshmallow experiment, I'll be successful. And yes, the marshmallow experiment is a good indicator of success for discipline. Unfortunately, it's also got to be done the right way. If you keep disciplining and saving into something that doesn't work, that's not going to make it work anymore. Throwing more money down the toilet doesn't mean that the money is going to, clog up and then you'll have this money toilet coming out. Sounds kind of gross when you think about it, doesn't it? Anyways, we're moving on. So going back to Dave Ramsey and his blunt truth, you have to do something different if you want your habits and your future to change. Yeah, no kidding. Thanks for that genius remark. And the truth is, saving for retirement is easier than you think. Well, apparently not, because you think that nobody's doing it. You got to change your habits. He says the first step, Ramsey explains, is that workers ought to be investing 15% of their savings in a tax-advantaged accounts such as 401ks and Roth IRAs. This only begins with making use of employer matching 401k. Okay, great. So this only works. Now, this is assuming you're not the employer, right? If you're a business owner, well, screw you. You don't get anything because you got to pay your own way, which doesn't do anything for you anyways. It just means you're saving more. He suggests that one be sure they are, at a minimum, taking full advantage of the maximum matching amount. Say that 10 times fast. The maximum matching amount, right? There we go. He says he recommends investing the remainder of the 15% in a Roth IRA, which allows workers to pay taxes on their contributions up front. Withdrawals made after 59.5 are handled free of taxes. That's a win-win, Dave Ramsey wrote. And then, of course, he talks about the Roth IRA, how it works, and you can contribute more if you're over 50, yada, yada, yada. Okay, I'm going to go off this. Now I want to go into this thing. He says you've got to save 15%. That's the assumption, right? Save 15%. Okay, let's go with that. I'm just going to assume that you make, say, $120,000 a year, right? At that $120,000 a year, of course, you're saving 15%. That's $18,000 a year. You're putting in your 401k. Now you also get a match, but of course, because you make $120,000 a year, they only match up to that 6%. And I'm assuming they're going to match 100%. I know many of you have 401ks. They only match up to 50%. They'll only go up to 3% or 4% and then stop, or something like that, right? So even if you go beyond this, they're not going to match much more. But I'm just going to give benefit of the doubt that you're getting best case scenario. You're putting in 18,000 a year. They're matching 6% on your 120,000. That's another 7,200. That means you have now $25,200 that you're able to save. Now, let's bring up a calculator. What does that look like, right? If you've been following this podcast, you're probably looking for great ways to create passive income right now, right? Well, we got you covered here with Central Lending. Central Lending specializes in alternative investments that actually are designed to create steady returns and long-term financial security for you and your family. Now, they prioritize transparency. They love, building those strong relationships, giving you that confidence and peace of mind, knowing that you have your money working harder for you, so you don't have to work so hard for that money. You want to learn more how to do that? Go to centrallending.com and check out what they've got today to create your passive income and wealth creation right now. So I just put that in. I said, so the answer, here's what you don't want to do. If you want to mess up your numbers and really screw up your numbers, put in like, oh, I get 100% match, 100% return. Doesn't work. Those numbers don't work at all. It comes out way different. You got to put in the actual numbers. So if he's getting that, if you're 120,000 a year you're making, I know a lot of our clients make more than that, but let's just go with 120,000. Some of you make less, and you might think this is going to be even more hopeless. There's promise. I tell you, there's still hope. Anyways, with the match and everything together, that's 25,200 per year. Now, what's the return on your 401k? Now, if you've heard me talk about like Fidelity, I looked up their funds, right? Many people do these target date funds. Well, some people tell you, oh, you make 12%. No, you don't. Because I'll tell you, when the stock market over the last 10 years, it averaged 10% a year. But guess what? In these target date funds, they did 8%. They did it's actually 10.1 is what the market did between 2014 and 2024. But with the target date funds, it actually ended up being more like 8%. So it did 2.1% worse, and that's before fees come out. So here's the problem, and you'll see this with the match and everything else. Most of the time, you could probably invest on your own and do better than your 401k because the 401k funds are so bad that the match just makes up for the bad performance. It barely gets you a market return. So I'm putting this at 7% because the truth is, even though the market for the last 30 years has averaged about 8.75%, that's the highest I've seen it average in a 30-year period for the last 20 years. Why? Because that's exceptionally high. That's usually it's between 7 and 8%. So I'm putting this 7% because you're factoring fees and everything else. You know what? Actually, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to do 8%. I'm going to make this just pretend like this is actually awesome. Now, investment length, I'm going to say it's 35 years. I'm going to say you're actually a decently paid 30-year-old making 120,000 a year. Now, inflation, they put this automatic thing at 3%. Let's be honest. We know it's not 3%. If I were really being truthful, it's more like 7 to 9%. If you go off shadowstats.com, off the real rates of inflation, I'm going to put it at 5%. So what we need to do is we got to figure out how much money this is going to give us after 35 years. What's the after inflation buying power? And then remember, you got to only pull off 3% a year if you want to retire. This is really taking you to age 65. So about 3% a year. Let's calculate it. All right, here we go. You got about $4.7 million. This sounds amazing, doesn't it? I mean, that's pretty dang good. You got almost $5 million. But remember, after inflation, 850,000. You pull off 3% of that, and what do you get? Guys, you get just about $25,000 a year is what you're able to live on. $25,000 a year. And if you put in a 401k, then you got to pay taxes on it. So good luck keeping about $1,500 a month or so. That's what you get. Tack that on with your little $1,600 in Social Security. And when you're like, yay, I'm living on just over a $3,000 a month lifestyle. Can you see why so many people, even the ones that have over $1 million right now in their 401ks and IRAs, are saying that's not enough? Now, I can try to throw in some more hope here, guys. I'm going to make this 9%. Actually, no, I should not do that. That's ridiculous. No, 8% is probably the best you're going to hope for. That's the best. That's if you got market returns. The truth is, like I said, I put it at 7%. You're probably looking more like this. And so you're looking at now about 675,000. You're looking at just about $20,000 a year you can live on. 20,000 a year. Notice you were putting in 18,000 a year to now live on about 20,000 a year. If you want, I can put it back at 8% because here's the truth. Figures don't lie, but liars figure, right? I can make this number whatever I want. As a financial advisor, this is where I got caught every time. I would try to make people feel better. So I would start adjusting the interest rate to be higher than what they might get in reality. I would also make this rate, I'd put like 2%. Watch this, what happens if I make inflation 2%. Oh, 2.3 million. Oh, good. Well, you live on 3% of that. Well, now you're looking like $70,000 a year. Does not feel better? You have $70,000 a year you live on, much better lifestyle. Heck, if I say, oh, I'm going to be, 3%. Okay, now you're living on about 50,000 a year. Cool, not bad, right? No, it's probably not. The truth is, I'll even again, I will go. I'll just. I'm doing this because I'm going to put this lower inflation number just for your benefit. I'm going to put it. It's just shy of 1.2 million. That means you live on about 35,000 a year. Does that feel better? I hope so. And that means you live on about 55,000 a year lifestyle with Social Security, assuming it's still around. Cool. Well, is that the life you wanted? You're packing all this money away. I mean, this is 15% of your wages, right? This should be enough, shouldn't it? Can you see why my dad, who was a very big penny pinching saver, got to retirement? And when it came to the reality, he's 61 years old, not even 65, like I'm pretending here. He's 61 years old. He'd been stuffing money in his 401k plan for the last 20 years because that's when the 401k was created for the average worker, was about 1985. So by 2005, when I meet with him, he's like, okay, well, I've got about 300,000 bucks. Is that enough? And I said, well, not if you're living on 50,000 a year. If you live on 50,000 a year, you got 300,000 bucks. If you don't make any interest, you might run out of money in 6 years. With a little bit of interest and help, assuming the market doesn't tank in the meantime when you're trying to pull money out, you might be able to live for 7 years, maybe. Can you see why I was having this dilemma talking with my dad and then trying to figure out how to make him more money? Even if he was debt free, this is after debt free, still he was wanting to live on about 50,000 a year, just a good, comfortable lifestyle. Just at least to enjoy life, not just sit at home and try not to drive anywhere, try not to do anything. He loved to fish. He liked to do that kind of stuff. He liked to go, he didn't like travel anywhere exotic. That wasn't his lifestyle. But he knew also because the money you're pulling out, you're paying taxes on it. So even though you're making 55,000 a year, you still have to pay tax on this money. So you're lucky to walk away with like 3,500 to 4 grand a month. Does that sound like a life to you in today's dollars? No. Now you might be single. You might think that's great. My dad, by the way, he actually had a girlfriend, so he wasn't totally single, but he kind of was. But still, that's not what he wanted. Anybody who's honest with themselves say, well, I can live on that. Okay, this is not to see like, if you're like in an episode of Alone and trying to figure out if you can survive in the wilderness by yourself, just living with a couple of matchsticks and some, and a hunting knife, and then you're gonna somehow like jump out of trees and try to kill animals or create your own fishing net, from tangled branches or whatever the crap. I mean, come on, you don't have to live a life like that. But that's what's being required. That's what this. Now, even if you throw in the extra Roth IRA, you save 7,000 a year. Do you think 7,000 a year is really going to do jack squat for 35 years? Hey, let's find out, right? Let's see if we can get you a little bit more money here. So we're going to contribute that. I'm going to keep it at 8% for the next 35 years. And bada boom, bada bing, you've got 1.3 million that adds your little nest egg. That means about 6 million total between the two. 330 after inflation. If I keep it at 4%, not put it up to reality, but I keep it low for you, good. You can live off another 10,000 a year. Now you're at 65,000 a year. Good job. You had to pay. I mean, you had to do more than 15%. Now you're really the 7,000 a year. If you add that to your 120,000, now you're saving over 20% of your income. Can you see why that even when they're starting to tell you 20% of your income, why that tends to be the case? The truth is you probably need to save more like 25, 30, maybe 40% of your income to get a decent amount, because once I just change that inflation rate a little bit, boom, now you're down to like, now you live on 7,000 a year. Notice that pretty much whatever you save is what you're able to do. So now you live on 7 or 8,000 a year already, tax free, at least in this case. Taxable. Remember, if we go back to that 5% inflation rate, you're only getting 25,000 a year. Plus, again, if let's just say you got 20,000 a year from Social Security, that's 45,000 a year. Plus, again, throwing in this extra 8,000 a year. Now you're at 53,000 a year, some tax free, some taxable. Like I said, you're likely to live on 3,500 to 4,000 a month. Is that what you want? No. The only answer for this, they say, is just save more money. Remember when it used to be 10%? I remember when I first became a financial advisor over 20 years ago, they said, oh yeah, save 10% of your income. That's more than enough. Save $100 a month for 40 years at 12%. You'll be a millionaire. Well, once you start changing these numbers a little bit, you have inflation higher than they say. The actual interest rate you're earning is lower than they tell you it is. And when you get this real numbers, and I'm telling you, these are real hard numbers that I've been running for many years, not based on what the companies tell us, but actually looking at the stock market. What does the S&P 500 actually do? Not what they tell us it does, but look at the real results. This is what you get. Is it no wonder why 99% of people think they won't be able to retire unless they have other things to help them out? This is what pisses me off. This is the thing that gets me doing what I do every day. This is why I keep doing the show. And I'm not just trying to do this to depress you, but I want to wake you up to reality because this is the reality that I had to face. I had to stare it in the face, and it was hard to admit because I was the financial advisor trying to sell you on this very thing that Dave Ramsey was also trying to sell you on. Just do this, and it works every time, and you just get debt free, and it works. And yeah, not having a house payment, although you still have taxes, insurance, and you're still paying for any maintenance and upkeep. And if you want to have any kind of decent lifestyle with increasing costs, right? Where you keep seeing inflation getting worse. So even with factoring for inflation, it's not that comfortable lifestyle. Can you do it? Yes. But does it create the freedom that a lot of my clients want? No. Most of my clients, they usually want one, they don't want to wait till they're 65 or 70 years old to retire, like my dad had to do. He had to wait until his 70s. They don't want that. They want freedom maybe in their 30s, 40s, 50s. They want it sooner. They want to do it while they still have their kids are still at home. Maybe enjoy their life now because all that money you pack away, all that money you throw in your 401k, you throw in those Roth IRAs, how much of it comes back to your family in those next 35 years? Nada, nothing. You are literally sucking money away from your family now in hopes that someday you'll have this future. You can finally live out your the last 10, 20 years of your life, scrimping and saving, right? Just so you can do that. By the way, if you do work into your 70s, you could probably pull off the 4% rule instead of 3%, like I was saying. But again, if you're trying to do it in your 60s, 3%. If you're trying to retire young, 2% is all you should be pulling out per year. So the point is, what do we do, right? This is why we had so many people reach out to us. So many of you, in fact, have reached out to us for this very purpose because they want to find something else. So let's just say that you do have money saved up now. You have been packing money away and you're looking at your retirement accounts. You're saying, man, I've got like $500,000 in my retirement accounts right now, but $500,000 live on 3% is only 15,000 a year. That's not going to do me any good. Oh, and by the way, these retirement accounts require me to wait till I'm 59 and a half where they slap me with penalties and taxes on top of those penalties, right? Unless it's a Roth IRA, that's just a penalty, the 10% penalty, right? But you still get penalized for touching your money before the age of 59 and a half. So those that want to retire young, you got to have the right vehicle to match it up. And by the way, like I said, you're sucking this money away from your family. You might say, oh, I'm doing this for them. Are you? Because the truth is, your kids are probably going to be grown up by the time you hit the mid 60s or so when you finally do retire. Two, your spouse doesn't get any benefit. You're hoping they get a benefit down the road. You hope you have something for them. For the most part, they're still counting on that Social Security to help bail you out. So, what do you do now with that money? Could you be doing something right now with that money where it can actually pay you back and your family can actually see it real life? That's the acceleration mindset versus the accumulation mindset. You've been taught and trained your whole life by financial institutions that want to take your money forever and make money off of you forever. And so do the financial advisors make money off of you forever while they don't make enough money to retire themselves. That's what they're doing to teach you that you should just put your money away, set and forget it, squirrel it away for that winter of retirement. But the problem is, it's going to be a dang harsh winter. What are you going to do in the meantime? Could you get that money out of that prison? Can you get it out to do something for you? This is why we look at cash flowing investments. For example, one of the cash flowing investments I love, let's just say you make a 10% return on this, right? You're lending your money out. I actually just had somebody email me that said, hey, you guys have lending funds in your network. Because if so, I might trust you better than I trust myself. And I said, yeah, we got about 3 or 4 of them. And that's just in the debt fund department. That's not even talking about other types of lending. You can do individual notes. You can do things with actually, making money on syndications, apartment buildings, self-storage units, car wash businesses. You can do things with raw land. You can do things with oil and gas. You can do all kinds of stuff, even industrial complexes and, that, people are storing their stuff in or whatever it might be. You can do all kinds of stuff in this space, right? So many options. And so let's just say that you have that 500,000, but now you're able to get out of prison. And let's just say that you try to take it out and maybe you lost a third of it to taxes and penalties. And I'm not saying this is what you do. I'm not giving you financial advice here, right? Or investment advice to do this. But I've had some people have this choice. They're like, what should I do? Should I cash it out? Well, we look at it, it was like, well, let's say you do lose a third of that money. Let's just say that out of that 500,000, actually, we'll even make it more. Let's just say you only have $300,000 left. 40% is gone to taxes and penalties. $300,000. But guess what? From day one, if they make 10% a return on 300,000, what is that? 30,000 a year. That's already double the cash flow you're expecting from trying to live on that 3%. Now, if you're trying to do it when you're young, $500,000, well, first you still have penalties and taxes anyway. So you still get taxed on that money regardless, right? But now we got that 300,000 that's kicking off 10% return. That's 30,000 a year. That's already better. Now, if you take that 30,000 a year, reinvest that, guess what? Now you got 330,000 paying you 33,000 a year. You reinvest that again, and now you're over 36,000 a year. You reinvest again, you're about 40,000 the next year, and it keeps compounding your income. Now, that's not including if you throw more money in. Let's just say you do have that $500,000 and you have the ability to save that, say 25,000 a year. Let's just say you got rid of the company match, but that Roth IRA money you're going to use anyways, and you got 25,000 a year to pack away. Well, now if you pack that away in somewhere that's not in the IRA, you're starting to use that money and you add that to the 30,000 a year you made because you cash that money out. Again, I'm talking about worst case scenario because you could actually invest in a self-directed IRA to get all 500,000 investing for you. But just go with me here. I'm trying to, give you a bad case scenario here. So you only have 300,000, but it's making 30,000 a year, but you have that 25,000 as well. With that 30,000, that's now 55,000 more to invest that next year. And that money makes you 5,500 bucks on top of the 30,000. So now you're at 35,500. Next year you're over 42,000 and then it just keeps going from there. So understand that when I try to show people, you can actually retire in 10, 15 years or even less, depending on how much money you've got. And that's just talking about that money, right? There's sometimes people got money in savings accounts. Sometimes they got locked up in life insurance they never knew they could use to actually make money with it. Sometimes they got money in equity and properties. We had one couple that was literally like about 40 years old, sell their house, kind of like the example I gave last time, sell their house, get the equity out of it, use that to invest, and then that's paying for their lifestyle while they homeschool their children. How cool is that? Now you're actually investing in your family. Now you're actually having to do that. Now they even do work like they have a side business and things like that. Cool. That money is coming in, helping augment and enhance the kind of lifestyle you can live while you have your other investments paying for you to live and not more than pay enough for your rent and then some, right? That's the cool part. That's the part that's awesome. But again, if we go to Dave Ramsey's point, it does require a change. It does require a different kind of action, but it's not, again, I'm talking to those of you that you've already been taking action. You've already been hearing this crappy advice for years and years. And you're starting to say, well, yeah, but where's the accountability for Dave? If I save 15% and I don't make it, can I blast him? Can I sue him? The answer is no. He's a TV personality. He's not, they might say he's a finance author and all this other stuff, but he's not a finance expert. Yes, he's done a good job for himself, but this is also why he doesn't put his money in those 401ks and IRAs. Plus, you make over 240,000 a year, you can't put your money in a Roth anyways. So they already limit you on that. But he's not doing that. He's putting in his business, which is kicking off a lot of money for him right now, millions upon millions of dollars every year that he gets, and his real estate investments, which kick off a lot of passive income and returns. So if you want to listen to Dave Ramsey, listen to his actions because actions speak louder than words. Stop listening to his advice about, here's what you do theoretically, put this money in based on my 15% kind of rule, you're going to have enough money to retire only for me to show you that's BS. No, you can actually do it better and faster than any advice he's ever given you. And this is something we've proven time and time again. So I know for some of you guys, you already know this to be true because some of you guys are already doing it with us, right? Some of you guys have already been doing it on your own. And some of you just know because you have common sense. You're like, yeah, I've seen that advice. I've seen where it leads because if it really worked, why aren't all these people that have saved all this money not able to be financially free at some point? They're just trying to live on this fixed little income budget. And that's exactly where your future leads to. If you're a good disciplined saver that just throws your money into those typical retirement accounts like they all tell you to do. That story has been hashed and done over and over. I'm tired of hearing that story. I'm tired of you not having that freedom that you actually deserve. I'm tired of hearing people struggling and saving and sacrificing for so many years only to have so little at the end. You can choose something different, yes, but it's not what he's saying. It's doing the type of things we talk about on this podcast. Now, if you want to go beyond that, I would just say this. If you want to see what kind of passive income is actually available to you today, what could be possible in your situation today, just go to moneyripples.com. There's a passive income calculator. You can try that out. Try that calculator instead of these stupid little, interest calculators that show you when you start putting in the numbers, it just depresses you more. Try the passive income calculator today. See what your number is. I'd be curious. I would love to know. And if you got questions, feel free to ask us questions. You can contact us on that website too. In the meantime, Be willing to take action, but it requires you have a different shift in perspective to reject everything you've been taught for years and put on something else. I had to do it, which is why I quit being a financial advisor, and it got me free. It's gotten many of our clients free as well. It can do the same for you, but again, you got to switch that brain. You got to turn your brain on, question everything you've been taught, and say, "No, I think I can do it better." That's the challenge I give to you, and that's why this show exists. That's the ripple effect I'm here to create in your life right now. The question is, what will you do with that power? What will you do with that choice that you have in your life? Make it a wonderful, prosperous week. We'll see you later.